Hello everybody, hope you're doing well. Welcome back to another One Piece review. This time we're covering manga chapter 1179. So, happy Easter folks, and boy oh boy, Oda decided we're going to get not just one major event happening as far as One Piece on Easter Sunday, but we're going to get two major events happening. So it's not just the return of the anime, but also we got a major reveal. I didn't expect this reveal on Elbaph, but I'll go over why I think Oda did this. Also, the implications and the ramifications of the Emu's reveal. So I'm going to get into that. I know there's a bunch of other stuff to go over too when it comes to not just only this chapter, but the two trailers that we got. I'm not going to cover the trailer for the Elbaph anime because in all honesty, by the time this is up, I mean, the episode's already going to be out, so I'm going to save my thoughts for a separate review. The other trailer that we got was for One Piece Heroines. Now, I'm not too familiar with the light novels. I guess this is like a spin-off that covers the popular female cast when it comes to One Piece. So it's kind of like the Naruto Shinden that we got, but when we got that animated, we got the Itachi Shinden animated, we got the Sasuke Shinden animated, we also got the Shikamaru Shinden animated, even though apparently the light novels is written by Jun Asaka, it's not done by Oda. So the first of the chapters is going to be focused around Nami. That's going to be the first episode we get. So that's obviously why we got the trailer focusing on Nami. But if you noticed in the background, we do see a cameo of Robin. The first episode is going to be directed by Haruka Kamatani, who, if that name sounds familiar to you, it should, because Haruka was in charge of a very well received, and some of you may know this episode, the One Piece fan letter episode, which outside of the original content from Oda, one of the best pieces of business that the anime ever did for One Piece. So Haruka's in charge of this episode. Now, I don't know how many episodes we're going to get. Other thing I know is the novels cover Nami, Robin, Vivi, Perona, Tashigi, Boa Hancock, and Reiju and Uta, which Uta kind of surprised me, but maybe not. I haven't read the light novels. The only novels I've read when it comes to One Piece are the Ace novels, so I'm kind of looking forward to this. I don't know how many episodes have been revealed yet, but we do know we're getting the first episode dedicated to Nami. I guess we'll find out July 5th, the day after Independence Day. Speaking of Ace, let's talk about the cover page, because we've got a cover request with Ace, Tama, and Yamato guiding a bunch of baby boars and a giant boar in the background. Now, I don't know if it's just a reference here or if it's just me thinking too much into this, but I can't help but think there's so many parallels between this cover page with Odin, because we got Kazuki Odin actually revealed in the chapter that involved a boar, a giant boar. I mean, causing a ruckus thanks to Kinemon, by the way. So that's when Oda revealed Kazuki Odin and the legend began. So there are some parallels, especially with Yamato wanting to beat Kazuki Odin, the reincarnate of Kazuki Odin. But no, this is not a continuation of the Yamato cover story. This is a cover request, but it's cool nonetheless. And I said there's a lot of parallels because we got the reveal of Kazuki Odin when we got that giant boar unleashing hell on Wano in the Flower Capital. Here we got like a giant reveal involving Emu. Like I said, I don't know if it's just me thinking too much into this, but that was the first thing that came to my mind. Speaking of Emu, we start off the chapter with Emu, and Emu's made the declaration. Emu's heading elsewhere. Now, I guess I kind of like speculated, but maybe Emu's like heading elsewhere other than Elbaph, because it's kind of predictive of what Oda said back at Jump Festa, but I'm guessing, at first I was thinking, is Oda like trying to make up, like, oh, don't worry, we're not going to get shortchanged in the final battle of Elbaph. No, that's not what this is, because in my mind, this isn't about the final battle. Like, people are going to get slaughtered, so unless Luffy steps up, which I'll get into, because there's major teasers that I don't think we're going to get Luffy versus Emu. Oda's already setting the scene with some details that a lot of people might have seen but might be overlooking here. But I'm going to go over that. So we start with Emu. Emu's made the declaration. Emu's dead set on heading for Elbaph, nowhere else. And the Gorosei, they're trying to talk Emu out of going to Elbaph. You need to stay here on Marajoa. But here comes the gaslighter himself, St. Garling, coming up, said, hey, how can you be so calm at a time like this? Even though the Horrorland is somewhat safe, with Shamrock's return, so Oda had to hype up Shamrock, even though we haven't seen him do anything but attack a Loki that was restrained, by the way. Whatever chaos took place on Murajoa is apparently resolved. Now, that doesn't mean whoever caused the chaos, has been defeated. We don't really know what went down. If the revolutionaries were responsible for this, they could be elsewhere now. So that could be kind of good that they're not tied down with this, and we may end up getting a Dragon and Luffy. Well, we kind of have to before the end of the series. So a Dragon Luffy reunion. So Garling obviously trying to hype up his son by saying Shamrock was the difference maker. If you got a chance to sit here and do nothing while that lower world resupply operation is still ongoing, to I guess resupply food for the Celestial Dragons, which was caused by the revolutionaries in the first place. But you got Garling there, so what we need right now is literally power to control the world. But then, before the conversation can go any further, we got York calling St. Garling over the Dendamushi. Come to find out, York has already built a Labo phase power plant in Murajoa, so I guess York is technically getting what she wanted by living in Murajoa. The problem is she can't eat because obviously there's no food supply, so she's starving. But you got Garling gaslighting her. It's like, hey, if you want food, you better do your job. You better produce energy for that Mother Flame. And we do get to see a mini Mother Flame, but it's not enough for Emu to use the ancient weapon. So that's one detail to take into consideration here. At least not yet. So York is going to have to put in the work to fully flesh out that Mother Flame. So the conversation continues with Gorosei. All of this began with the appearance of Nika, trying to blame all this on Nika, even though the Gorosei kind of put this on themselves because of the shady activity they tried to use with CP0, trying to intervene with Kaido versus Luffy to fix that fight to make sure Kaido win. But that interference allowed Luffy to not only come back to life, but also awaken Gear 5th. So they brought that on themselves. You got St. Jupiter trying to reason with Emu not to leave Pangaea Castle. We'll dispatch the admirals, sending the admirals to Elbaph. But then Nasjuro's like, no, I'd advise against that because they're far too occupied with everything going on. So Oda's being very vague here. One instance he's saying like, oh, whatever chaos is going on has been quiet down a little. So the other is like something else is still going on here. So which is it? Either way, it's just an excuse for not having the admirals on standby. And to be honest, I don't know what, outside of Akainu, I don't know what difference they would make. We've already seen what happened with Kizaru. Like, no, we can't use the admirals here. They're too busy. You got Top Man Mercury. It's like, oh, we'll go ourselves here. So trying to repeat what they did with Elgin Island. Only this time, Emu's like, cast aside all your lust, pride, and sloth at once. In other words, shut your mouths. I'm taking care of this. Everything was inevitable, and we get a montage of panels involving Emu's encounter with Zebek when Zebek said, "You better watch your back because I'll be returning here," even though he never returned to the flower room. But either way, we got the panel of Raja and his final words before he's executed. We got the birth of Shirahoshi. We got Shanks and the fact that the devil fruit, the Nika fruit, was stolen, even though technically Shanks was the one that stole it. But we got also a panel of Harold, which transitions into Loki, and we come to find out that Loki was a part of the ship that sailed through the fog. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, didn't Luffy from the Blackbeard Pirates mention a ship in the fog that had a devil fruit to sink other ships that approached them? So is that Oda kind of revealing that Loki was on a part of that? Just trying to get that plot point out of the way. So I don't know, because a lot of people seem to think that Fourth Rod Poneglyph is on that ship. Oh, there was a ship sailed through the fog, so we've got Loki on board. And then finding out that Loki was Harold's son. We got epic battles of Marineford where we got Luffy, Whitebeard, and we got Teach when he showed up as well. We also got Cobra when he revealed Lily was a Nefertari D Lily, which also means Vivi's a D, which also has to tie up at some point with Vivi meeting Luffy. I'll get into that shortly. And we also got the pictures and the bounty poster. I'm kind of wondering if this was like pretty much foreshadowed back then, because we got remember the battle posters of Luffy and Teach, you know how they had along with Shirahoshi's picture. Meanwhile, you got a panel of Emu holding a picture of Vivi back at the Reverie. So I'm wondering, back then, did Oda foreshadow because characters would actually show up in the same location down the line? Was this foreshadowing? We kind of have an idea that Teach is going to go after Shirahoshi here, especially with him meeting up with Karabo. Then we got obviously Luffy. So wherever Vivi and Shirahoshi are, you could expect Luffy there as well as Teach. So I don't know, was that foreshadowing? And then we got the final panel of Emu's, Emu's trauma, and Emu and the portrait of Lily, but you can't have Lily since she's not around anymore. And we got the dialogue from Emu. Do you insist on making Emu suffer? Mu desires Vivi. So Emu's still all about Vivi, and I mentioned this in my last review. Like, that's still a vocal point here. So, but I'll get into that more. But Emu's like, all this began long ago. We got the pentagram, abyss seal. For Emu to make the travel to Elbaph. So that the beginning stages of this chapter was like setting the tone for the rest of this chapter. Like, the Gorosei realize they can't stop him. Like, I like the fact that Emu's taking the reins here. And the Gorosei are like, you must not leave the castle if you descend to the lower wood. And this was kind of setting the stage for what we've seen with Emu's body when we get the reveal. But I'll get into that more later. But the Gorosei basically just said there's no one that can stop him. Him. That's one reveal. The other reveal, we get to Elbaph, and things seem to be a little bit dubious, and I guess Gerd pretty much spotted Saint Summers trying to reattach himself. Goldberger has Saint Summers' heart in his hand, and I don't know why Oda decided to like add the detail that it was a metal heart when Zoro comes up with the idea, all we have to do is just smash it to bits and he won't be able to return to normal. And you see the panel of Saint Summers like, oh shit, like, yeah. So, I don't know, unless Emu intends to bail the Holy Knights out, I don't see this looking too well for Saint Summers or Saint Killingham. And speaking of which, we go to Wara's school, where Saint Killingham is kind of threatening Sanji. It's like, oh, I won't forget your name, Sanji. Go ahead, say my name. And Sanji, obviously, we got the gag here. Sanji's like, nope, I forgot your name. Sorry. Meanwhile, we got Jinbei on the lookout for Chopper, because obviously Brook and Usopp is still out of the game. Then we got Gunko, who's frozen solid, and we got Loki asking why is the school frozen, and Lil is actually revealing no, it's not that it's frozen. The thermal energy was drained from the flames. But even so, the food is even frozen, which could be a problem for Luffy. Because meanwhile, you got Loki and Ratatoskir that's able to eat, but Luffy can't. You got Luffy who wants to like give this food to Brook and Usopp, but Loki's like, you need to like get back to normal before you can go anywhere. We got Luffy asking Loki about Gunko, the girl. Is she dead? Did she die? And Loki's like, no, she's kind of like frozen, but she's not dead. So, which, I mean, we could have all predicted that was the case. But apparently Ratatoskir is the only one that could carve up the ice and slice up into the ice. So that's kind of like, okay, Loki can't do that. We go to another detail that a lot of people may have spotted but aren't really going over. So we start off with Nami, who's noticing the beginning of the turmoil about to engulf Elbaph, where the Aura's castle. We got a bolt of smoke, a dark smoke in this case, striking the area outside of Aura's castle, striking multiple villages, multiple areas on Elbaph. It's not affecting the people of Elbaph, it's affecting the houses and the trees of Elbaph because they're coming alive. And the moment that happened, a strange song, a strange beat in the background. And the moment I saw those houses come back to life, I was like, oh shit, this is like Big Mom all over again. This is like the homies, only in this case it's Emu doing this. You also got a song in the background which is also Big Mom vibes, because full reveal, this is what happened with the homies, and you got the song in the background. So I don't know if I should throw back to that, but that's immediately what I thought about. But yeah, but it's got an Emu spin on it. We got an abyss pentagram coming from the heavens, from above. I'll get to that shortly, but this is another detail that I noticed. It's coming above, it's hovering above the castle, but it's coming from the heavens nonetheless. It's splitting the heavens, and then later on, Zoro goes to confirm, what is this Conqueror's Haki? So this is Haki through and through. So this is just Emu's spin, which is kind of cool. With an abyss pentagram splitting the heavens instead of like the Haki clash, or someone's power like Joy Boy or Luffy splitting the heavens, so I like it's different here. Nami notices this, but then Frankie and Sanji join Nami. Oda decided to focus on Nami being the one to notice this immediately. I don't know if there's too much into this, but a lot of people seem to think there's a special ability within Nami. Maybe she has some type of observation haki that hasn't been unlocked yet, but we don't really know. It could be just a simple case of Oda choosing Nami to be the one to notice all this before it actually went down. Because we do see the sky turning darker, and before you know it, the heavens split apart, and all this chaos is happening. Finally, we get a bolt of Haki lightning striking the castle itself, and that's where Imu emerges. But we do get panels of other giants and Luffy as well. Zoro noticing this. Zoro's the one that mentioned that's Conqueror's Haki. So, and then all the kids of Elbaph are pretty much knocked out. They're KO'd. We got the new giant warrior pirates looking on. They look shook. Loki and Luffy's still not recovered, but Loki's like, that's the same Haki we fought from before. Of course it is, because it was Imu controlling Gunko. So now Imu in the flesh literally has arrived on Elbaph inside the throne room in Oros Castle. Immediately you see like a Imu coughing and coughing up blood, apparently, because we see a splotch of blood. So Imu's body is already weakened. Imu's body starts morphing, and Imu goes into his final form, obliterates part of the castle, and you see possibly what could be the first three victims of Imu in the form of Doribrogi and Jarul. They notice this and like, who the hell is that over there? You've got even the homies of Imu freaked out by this. You got Saint Killingham and Summers is like, oh shit, he's here. Like, so they're kind of like, the Great One is here and he came personally. They're shitting bricks right now, and they should be because they failed. And then we got Imu sitting at the top of the roof, and then Oda gives us the epic reveal. He also gives us the caption as well. So, and we got the caption, the creator of the world government, one of the first 20. Not only did we get Imu's final form revealed, we got Imu's devil fruit and his full name revealed, even though it was kind of revealed, but it doesn't really mean a whole lot unless it's connected to something that we've already seen. I'll get to that shortly. Imu has the power of the Akuma no Mi, and apparently he's using awakening to make inanimate objects come to life, much like Big Mom did, but she had to use the Soul fruit. It kind of looks like Imu's using awakening, honestly. But we don't know. We don't really know how Imu's abilities work fully. But we do get the full reveal of Imu's name, Saint Nerona Imu. And we also, thanks to the Gorosei, we come to find out Imu is him. But we got the form revealed, and my god, what a form it is. Did anybody else notice this Imu's hair is like kind of like Gear 5th like? But also you got the smoke, the dark smoke in the background. I thought that was cool as hell. Like, Imu does resemble a god here. Like, really. And Imu's got a sick ass scythe here with the cloud at the top. I really like that. Despite the fact that Imu's kind of in a weakened state right now, it kind of looked like Imu's about to go, is locked in. That's how this chapter ends, with the reveal of Imu. Imu is about to cause some devastation because Elbaph and everybody's on there. Kind of similar to what we got with God Valley, only this time Imu's taking matters into his own hands. Speaking of hands, did you notice the symbol on his hand? I don't know, I imagine a lot of people are going to link this to the mural, but other than the design itself, I can't really see what else stands out. Like, the markings do resemble like kind of like the art style on the Harley mural graffiti design, so I don't know. But we got the eye symbol, which it's not the 3-eye tri symbol, unless his hair's covering something. But he's also got horns, which looks pretty badass, which kind of gives you the Kaido vibes as well. But like I said, he's bleeding from the mouth. He's got a weakened body. Again, he was taking matters into his own hands. Now that all this is happening on Elbaph, like, he's got no choice. He can't rely on the Gorosei. They suck at this point. Like, you guys suck. I'm gonna handle this. So, and apparently, I think he will. I don't think this is gonna end well. So, like I said before, Nami was the first to see and notice this chaos unfold. So, it could be just as simple as Nami being the one to notice, like the clouds changing, the sky changing, because that's what Nami does. Or it could be something else that Oda's alluding to as far as like Nami's concerned. The other thing to notice is like Luffy's not back to normal. Loki, you saw Loki and Ratasuke eating. I could definitely see Loki be the first to pull up to try and fight. He's he's the only one right now. And I think Oda did this deliberately because I don't think Oda's going to have Luffy fight Emu just yet. I don't. Just because if that happens, who's taking the L here? This is like a final fight, even though Oda decided to reveal Emu's final form. And I guess I get into why Oda decided to do this. Because why now? Why did Oda decide to do this? Well, for two reasons. One, we're in the final saga. And number two, we're not at the final arc. We're not going to get a Kage Atsuki repeat. Decided to wait until the final arc, the final war, as the final villain, which pissed a lot of people off because this kind of like, okay, we kind of like what we got with Madara Uchiha, but then in comes Kage out of nowhere to like take the reins. No, bitch, I'm the final boss. Revealing Emu's abilities, Emu's form. Now, we don't really know, like, because Oda's showing that Emu could like fully transform his body into something else. We saw that when he ate Emu eating an attack from Sabo back at the Reverie. But I think it's safe to say that this is Emu's final form, and that's why I reveal it now, if it's not his actual body. So this is kind of cool. Like I said, design is sick as hell. When it comes to like these character introductions, this might be one of the top 10, honestly. It's one of the most important, easily, just because of, well, we don't really know if Emu's going to be the final boss of the series, but we're going to find out very soon how powerful Emu is. Not only did we get Emu's actual identity revealed, we even got his devil fruit, the name of his devil fruit revealed, Akuma no Mi, which if you look it up, Akuma is just another way of saying demon or devil. So Akuma no Mi, and you apply it to somebody else who we know who also has a form of a devil. Well, you only live for one comparison here. I do see why a lot of people might look at this and say, oh, is this character connected to Nico Robin? Out of the entire Straw Hats, I find it very convenient that Robin was absent, and we know Robin was with Saul inside the library. So is that going to play a role here? Because let me talk about the Abyss Pentagram before I get into this connection business. So am I the only one that's going to point this out and find it very, very weird that the Abyss Pentagram that unleashed the Akuma no Mi powers, or the Devil Fruit Awakening abilities of Emu, we don't really know yet, that came from the heavens. It didn't come from the surface like we got with what Saturn first appeared. It came from the heavens. Is there any connection at all? Do you think there's a possibility that Emu has some connection to what happened in the heavens? Because we still haven't seen what's at the top of the tree yet. The Harley mural is like a big red flag here, because we saw like Elbaph was in the middle, we saw the sides, we saw the war, we saw Emu on Zunisha, on an elephant that represents Zunisha. Is this what we're seeing here with Emu's abilities affecting his surroundings? Maybe that's what took place. And we know we got Nika, aka Joy Boy, able to do the same thing with the Nika fruit and affect the surroundings. I thought it was kind of interesting that Oda decided to make that choice, considering that we know there's a best pentagram inside the castle. But by the way, I'm going to say this right now. You want to talk about aura vibes here? I'm sorry, like, throw what we got with the Gorosei out the window, because this is going to supersede that. This is insane. Like, you can only imagine how the anime is going to handle this. I can't wait to see it. Now, I'll get back into this connection, because a lot of people thinking that, mostly because of the eyes, the pupils, and the stance that Emu has, are comparing this to the one that Robin had back in Elbaph, which I can see why. I guess once a new character from the past reveal itself, there's got to be a connection to Robin. Listen, I'm not going to say there's not a connection, because I think there's more of a connection here than there is what we got with Eris, Teacher's mother, and Zebek's wife. There are already people thinking about connections to Emu and Robin. We don't know what connection that is. I mean, could be the father of Olivier. We don't know. Emu's revealed. It's got to be connected to someone we've seen. So we're not going to get a situation with what we got with Kage Atsuki, because A, it's not the final arc, and B, Oda decided to do this now, because when else is Oda going to do this? Like, I was kind of like thinking back and forth, but no, this is like, plus we just got revealed like Elbaph has a D in its name. So that has to tie in at some point. Once we got that reveal, you could kind of see there was going to be a major reveal, more so than what we got with Gunko and the whole. And I said there's going to be more to the Holy Knights coming in. I don't think that this is it. Yeah, there's a possibility of this character being connected to Robin, and the first thing that comes to my mind is either somebody from Elbaph is going to die, and I'm looking at the first 3 casualties of being Dori, Brogy, and Jarl, because they're from the Old Guard, or somebody on Elbaph is going to get captured. I hate to say it, but that's what it looks like, because unless Luffy bulks up to normal by eating, I don't know, other than Loki is going to stand the chance here. And remember, Robin and Solo are on a mission to find the books that disappeared from the library, so we don't know if that's going to lead up to the top of the tree either, or inside the tree. It's one of the two. This brought Emu here for a reason. Now, my final point is this. Like, Emu decides Vivi, right? You want to make Moose suffer? Like, I desire Vivi. So we haven't done shit to get Vivi back, which I don't know. The government don't even know Vivi's chilling with Morgan's News right now. So, but that has to play a role at some point. So why would Oda have Emu go to Elbaph in person, literally have Emu revealed in the flesh, if it's not going to have some tie into Vivi? And I said this from the get-go, like, you can't have separate events here, especially if Oda decides to, if Oda wants to ramp up the pace into lightning fast, you kind of have to tie that in there. So unless Vivi is going to find a way to appear on Elbaph, because we know there's going to be a reunion because Zoro foreshadowed it, when Zoro told Luffy, listen Luffy, don't underestimate Vivi. We'll meet Vivi again, but until we do, have faith in her. That's what Zoro told Luffy, and Luffy didn't have a comeback, nor did the other Straw Hats. Instead of like, oh, you green monster. That's the only response they have for Zoro, because he was right. So I said this, I wouldn't be surprised if Emu makes an appearance, but why have Emu show up if it's not going to have some tie into that? Plus, especially with whatever's going on in Merijoa. So there's a tease here and there. Boy, there's a lot to go over when it comes to this chapter. It's going to leave us something to chew on, because now Emu's in the flesh. Those are my thoughts. Emu is him, and it doesn't look good for Elbaph right now, or anybody on Elbaph. So if you enjoyed this video, you guys don't do hit that thumbs up. I appreciate that. I appreciate you guys' support when it comes to these One Piece reviews. Take it easy, guys. Bye.